You may have heard the phrase anti-racist, but it's not always used correctly. Being anti-racist means actively working to recognise, challenge and change the attitudes, structures and systems that uphold racial inequality, not just in society but in our classrooms, our schools and our own practice. Hiya everyone, I'm Zoe from My Progression, and in today's video we're talking about what it really means to be anti-racist in UK schools and how you can embed this into your practice across all key stages, from the early years right through to further education. Now, being anti-racist isn't about being not racist, it's about taking action. This might sound big, but it doesn't have to be. Anti-racism isn't about policies or assemblies. It lives in the everyday choices we make, the books on our shelves, the way we respond to bias, the curriculum we build, whose stories we teach, and whose voices are represented and heard. So in this video, we'll break down what anti-racism actually means in a school setting, how it might look in practice from the EYFS to FE, and how everyone in schools, from teachers to TAs, admin to leadership, can play a role in building actively anti-racist schools. So what does anti-racism mean in education? Well, anti-racism isn't a one-off training and not something that should be covered only in calendar events such as Black History Month. It's an active, ongoing commitment to recognise racial bias and systemic inequality, challenge harmful assumptions or practices, and change the environment so that all pupils and staff are treated fairly with dignity and respect. So what does this include? Well, it includes curriculum choices, language and labelling, behaviour systems, staff culture, and how we respond when racism shows up, whether it's direct or indirect. Let's start with EYFS then. Now, this is the foundation of a child's education. Anti-racism in the early years is all about building spaces that accept all identities and challenge bias and stereotypes from an early age. Assessing to ensure you are exposing children to anti-racist language and actions is vital. Using high-quality texts is an effective way to teach young children about a range of different cultures. I would recommend books such as Look Up by Nathan Byron, Hand of Surprise by Eileen Brown, or So Much by Trish Cook. Start conversations and discussions with young children about differences and promote a safe space to ask questions and model anti-racist language. Throughout the early years setting, dolls, dress-up clothes and resources should reflect different skin tones, hair types and family structures. Having a wide range of toys will help expose children to different cultures and teach them about nations from around the world through play. Avoid reinforcing stereotypes in roleplay or when teaching topics such as people who help us. For example, police shouldn't always be white men and nurses shouldn't always be white women. Small curriculum changes you can make to ensure you are promoting an anti-racist environment include building diversity into your weekly planning. For example, if you're exploring homes, include houses from different areas of the world. During phonics or early reading, use decodable books, which are words that the child can sound out, with diverse names, foods and family routines. Don't limit global culture to International Day or Food Week. Let it live in the continuous provision that you provide all year round. If you're finding this video helpful so far, give it a like and make sure you subscribe. It's the easiest way to stay up to date with the latest training and CPD guidance. And it helps us to keep producing free resources for educators like you.
My Progression is brought to you by Teacher Active. And keeping on top of your CPD just got even easier with the Teacher Active app. You can browse through all My Progression videos and test your knowledge straight away by gaining and downloading CPD certificates right onto your phone. If you're working with us as an educator, you can set your availability when it suits you. Earn when you want, learn when you can. Download the Teacher Active app today.
Moving on to primary education. In primary, anti-racism means modelling to primary-age children what being against racism looks like. This should be embedded in the curriculum. For example, in history, ensure the topics include both Black and global perspectives, such as the Windrush generation and the British Empire. And in geography, when studying continents, ensure you focus on all the continents and cultures within them. In English, use a variety of stories with diverse characters that represent people from across the world, and read non-fiction books focused on role models. Following the idea of role models, in drama, use them such as Mary Seacole, Malala Yousafzai and Martin Luther King to help children feel empathy. In maths, use word problems and situations and names in worksheets that reflect real-world, diverse names and settings. Now, within primary schools, if you hear a child say a racist comment, it's important that you intervene quickly but calmly. Your reaction and how you handle the situation is essential to modelling being anti-racist. Remember, pupils are always watching to see how you handle behaviour in the classroom. Letting something slide would demonstrate to them that you don't consider the comment offensive or against the behaviour policy, which in turn could cause more children to think racist remarks are acceptable. Here at My Progression, we always prefer to educate and not vilify. Now, in secondary school, it's all about deepening pupils' understanding and developing their critical noticing skills and consciousness. This is all about supporting your pupils to spot things that they may not have consciously seen before. Let's jump into some curriculum examples. Firstly, in English lessons, go beyond your usual curriculum texts and embed diverse authors year-round, not just texts as extras for events such as South Asian Heritage Month. Include books such as The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas or The Roles We Play by Saba Khan. Throughout science lessons within your curriculum, include role models who your pupils may not be familiar with. Consider the topics you're studying and the powerful impact of diverse scientists. For example, you could discuss Marie Maynard Daly, who was the first black woman to earn a PhD in chemistry in the US. When teaching about the heart, you could discuss her work on the links between high cholesterol, clogged arteries and the risk of heart attacks. Another role model in science is the biochemist David T. Wong, who was born in Hong Kong. You could discuss him when teaching about antibodies and the immune system. David co-discovered several groundbreaking medications, including Prozac, which is used as a medicine to treat depression and other mental health disorders. Moving on to media. In media, you could explore how different races are portrayed and stereotypes in headlines, films, social media, and advertising. Who is shown, how are they shown, and is there any trends? For example, are certain minorities typecasted into certain roles? It could be part of your teaching to highlight how these roles aren't random, they're often shaped by history and politics. And finally, in maths, use stats problems to explore real-world data to ensure you're representing anti-racism, such as showing inequality in pay or racial disparities in access to education or housing. Now, student voice is essential in secondary settings. Create safe ways for pupils to raise concerns, including suggestion boxes, surveys, or a trusted staff member who will take action. Ensure all pupils are aware of the behaviour policy and that there is a zero tolerance towards racism and discrimination. In further education, similarly to secondary, the focus should be on critical thinking, allyship, and real-world equity. Some subject-specific examples of teaching anti-racism within the curriculum could include: in health and social care, teach how racism impacts maternal mortality rates, mental health stigma, or access to services. In law and criminology, study racial bias in the justice system, from policing to sentencing. And in business, analyse how brands profit from diversity without being inclusive internally, or explore racial pay gaps and boardroom representation. Across all subjects in FE, every lecturer should use real-world data and real stories, set assignments that explore equity issues from students' lived experiences. FE tutors are role models by showcasing allyship and bringing up race in class, respectfully challenging stereotypes and amplifying marginalised voices, not avoiding difficult conversations. Finally, thinking about anti-racism work in SEND and ALN settings. Now, sometimes this gets overlooked, but it's vital. If you work with pupils with additional needs, whether it's learning or behavioural, it is still essential that these pupils receive the same quality anti-racism messages. However, your delivery will differ. Some curriculum strategies you could use with pupils with additional needs are: firstly, making visual aids and using social stories, ensuring they're inclusive. Include illustrations of black and brown children in wheelchairs, hijab-wearing carers, or multiracial families. In PSHE or circle time, use simplified, inclusive language about fairness, differences, and feelings. Let pupils with communication needs access words like racism, unfair or safe through visual cards or AAC, which is the use of objects, symbols, charts, photographs, signing and electronic aids to help a child communicate. Just as you would in any other setting, never shy away from answering a question that a pupil with additional needs has, even if it's difficult to answer. It's okay to say to them that you'll come back. That gives you time to prepare a suitable answer. Staff culture and whole school approach. We've spoken a lot about teaching anti-racism, however, none of this works without the staff buy-in. You need to ask yourself, do all staff understand what racism is, including making assumptions and gaps in opportunity? Make sure you review staff CPD. Do you include anti-racism training regularly, not just in response to incidents? Do support staff and office teams feel confident correcting a pupil who may use racist language, or would they feel unsure or unsupported? Embed race equity into curriculum planning meetings and line management conversations, not just in DEIJ policy documents. And finally, check your displays, praise systems and any celebration boards. Who is shown as aspirational? Anti-racism in schools isn't about being perfect, it's about being active. It's about seeing race, naming injustice, teaching truth and making schools safer and fairer for everyone. Regardless of the year group you're in and the job role you have within the school, you have an important role to play. You need to remember it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Start with small, intentional choices, such as saying names correctly, diversifying your bookshelves, calling out banter that isn't funny, and noticing who isn't speaking and invite them in. If you've already started this work, amazing. Keep reflecting, keep learning, and keep listening. If you've got practical anti-racism ideas that work well for you, pop them in the comments. We love to hear what you do within your setting and share our knowledge with our other subscribers. I've been Zoe from My Progression. Let's keep your career in motion.